Hey, what up everybody? This is Stephen Breach coming to you here talking about the big news from yesterday about Jushin Thunder Liger is going to be working the upcoming NXT event live from SummerSlam weekend, which is NXT TakeOver in Brooklyn. He was one of the big names that was announced that's going to be coming in and working this show. WWE is going to be trying to spicing up NXT any way that it can, with a lot of its big names being moved over to the main roster in the last few months. They're going to have to find a way to try and freshen NXT up to be taking it out on the road. You know, for the longest time, they had stars like Neville, Kevin Owens, you had Charlotte, Sasha Banks, you had Becky Lynch, all of these people that have been moved up to the main roster that are going to be put into the house shows and, SmackDowns and your Monday Night Raw, so they're going to be being used up on some of these NXT shows that are going to be going around, so they're going out and trying to find other talent. Jushin Thunder Liger is a talent that, has been on the downhill side of his career. He's been working a lot of shows all around America. He's basically, trying to collect up as much money as he can because he knows any minute now that basically the career is going to be over. This will be Jushin Thunder Liger's first time having connection working with WWE. I know there is some sort of bad feelings which is going down right now, honestly, with Jushin Thunder Liger being a New Japan Pro Wrestler. New Japan has a tie with Ring of Honor, who sort of has this working relationship. You've got Michael Elgin, who's, being a part of the G1 this year. You also have the show that's going to be going on SummerSlam weekend, which is against the NXT show, which is using New Japan talent. You've got Shinsuke Nakamura, one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. Honestly, one of the hottest guys. When I'm watching the New Japan shows, he's the one guy that his match always steals a show. He's going to be tag teaming with Jay Lethal, going up against Red Dragon. Okada, your champion of New Japan, is going to be going up against Roderick Strong. And then also your killer elite squad, Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Lance Archer are coming over, and they're going to be wrestling a match against War Machine. So, honestly, you've got Ring of Honor right now sort of banging their head against the wall, trying to find out why New Japan is loaning one of their wrestlers to the WWE. Are they losing this working relationship right now? Honestly, in my mind, we've got Michael Elgin, who's going over and he's going to be wrestling in the G1 tournament. This is something that he's been working very hard for. It's been one of his career lifelong goals, and it's been something that, some fans of his have even been pushing for. And honestly, to me, now that he's in the G1, I see a lot of people looking around like I thought this was just a joke, trying to get him to go over there. And now that he's a part of the tournament, people are actually wondering why he's in the tournament and why somebody like Roderick Strong, who's sort of wrestling the best matches of his career. And the weekend when New Japan was here wrestling against Ring of Honor, during those joint shows, Roderick Strong was sort of the MVP of that whole 4-day trip, and he didn't get the invite to be there. So I think it'd be funny if Michael Elgin just got sent over there and basically loses every match as a part of the G1 coming up. But if I'm Ring of Honor, honestly, I'm not worried about one guy going over there. Jushin Thunder Liger has wrestled a lot of shows for Ring of Honor. I think that the big name draw for Ring of Honor of having Jushin Thunder Liger there has sort of worn off. He was sort of like the draw to bring everybody to WrestleMania weekend this year for Ring of Honor, and he went out there and he wrestled a good match. But, Jushin Thunder Liger isn't what he was. I mean, when I remember watching this guy wrestle for WCW, having matches against Brian Pillman, he had one on, I believe, it was on a Super Brawl or something like that. And then he had another one, which was the first match ever for WCW Nitro, a match that more people remember, which I don't think is as good as the match from the pay-per-view that was a few years beforehand. But, this guy was awesome, and he's just not really what he was. But if somebody does get blown away by Liger working the NXT show, they see this on the WWE Network, and they want to go find more Liger matches, more than likely they're going to go into the Ring of Honor history books and try and find matches of him there wrestling the American style, rather than going and signing up for New Japan World and finding out that this guy is used mostly in dark matches, and even New Japan is saying that he's not what he once was. So we'll see what's going down with this. But Jushin Thunder Liger working the NXT show, big name named. I've heard that he's going to wrestle against Tyler Breeze, so we'll see how that works out. Hey, what up everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you, talking all about the upcoming NXT TakeOver special, which is going to be happening in Brooklyn the night before SummerSlam. We already have one match named, which is going to be Kevin Owens going up against Finn Balor for the NXT Championship match. On last night's NXT show, we had a sit-down interview with Finn. It wasn't with Finn, it was with Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens made the announcement that he wanted the rematch to be a ladder match. And that brings a whole lot of even more excitement to that match. Kevin Owens, as Kevin Steen in his indie career, wrestled great ladder war matches for Ring of Honor, as well as wrestling a great match against Sami Zayn, then El Generico and PWG at Steenwolf. So honestly, we get to see. I don't really like it when they pigeonhole guys as ladder match kind of guys, and I know that that's an easy way to sort of steal a good stipulation and make it a good match, they think. But we'll have to see about that one. But it should be really great. But as one of the undercard matches that's being pushed right now, it's Tyler Breeze going up against Jushin Liger. That match was announced last night, even though most people have known about it for a while. I do like the storyline that they went with, where they basically unveiled Jushin Thunder Liger as the special guest opponent for Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze going to William Regal, basically saying that he's bored wrestling for NXT. He needs a great opponent because he wants to be able to show off his skills. Almost borderline turning babyface, but still saying heel at the same time. We all know that Tyler Breeze is a great wrestler, a great competitor. We've seen him move up, being #1 contender. We saw him in the Fatal 4-Way. We've seen him in a lot of big matches. He's never won the title for NXT, but he has wrestled in a lot of the big matches, and he has stepped up to the plate and really delivered. With NXT as a brand, going out and getting a star like Jushin Liger, even though he is on the tail end of his career. It is big steps for NXT as a traveling brand, bringing in big names. We have seen Liger wrestle for Ring of Honor over the last few years, coming in during the New Japan invasions. And even though he is at the tail end of his career, he does find ways to deliver great matches because he's always been known as a great wrestler. Most people that are going to watch the special really only know Jushin Thunder Liger from watching him in WCW, his great matches against Brian Pillman on, I think it was Slamboree, also on the first edition of Monday Nitro. Most people know that as one of the big trivia questions about WCW. The first ever WCW Nitro match held from the Mall of America in Minnesota was Liger against Brian Pillman, and most people look at that as just a great match that just brought people in. Most people, were trying to find Monday Night Raw, and it wasn't on USA because of the dog show or something like that. And here on WCW, we got great wrestling for you, even though it was only a 1-hour show back then. But Tyler Breeze, definitely a lot of people have been thinking about him moving up to the main roster. A lot of people have been thinking about him, having a feud against Dolph Ziggler. In my mind, the guy on the outside looks a lot like, well, he doesn't look like him, but I mean, it's a lot like the same thing with Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe came in as sort of a big name to add some hype to NXT. We never got the showdown of Owens and Samoa Joe as a real match. It was only a non-title NXT television match, but that's sort of what they brought him in for, and a lot of people thought Owens and Joe would get a real run, but instead we just got that one match. But then shortly after that, because Joe was going to go back and wrestle for Ring of Honor on Destination America, WWE stepped up the plate and signed Joe to a full real deal. But even at that, we're not really seeing Joe all that much. So we'll have to see what goes down with this. Tyler Breeze going one-on-one against Liger. Honestly, in my mind, why would Liger come if he's not going to get the win? But then again, Liger's not going to be there, and it's not like he's a real big celebrity. He's just a big wrestling name. So more than likely, I got Tyler Breeze getting the win. After finding out that he was outside of a WWE title picture for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, Tyler Breeze went to William Regal and said, hey, I want to have a high-profile match where basically I'm going to be looked at as, even though I'm not in the title match, I am in the main event. I want people looking at me like I am a big deal in WWE's NXT. We've seen, Tyler Breeze wrestle in a few main events at TakeOver specials. I can think of the Fatal 4-Way, and I believe he had another one where it was just a one-on-one against Neville. Maybe that was just a regular NXT show, but it was a really built-up show. So I know that he's had main events, and I know that he's been there before. Tyler Breeze is a big staple of NXT. I believe that a lot of people have been looking for him to get bumped up to the main roster somewhere along the way. Some people think that he's just going to be a perfect fit to wrestle against a guy like Dolph Ziggler, or maybe take Dolph Ziggler's place and be a fixture in the United States in the Intercontinental title picture. We'll have to see what comes from there. I think that, Tyler Breeze definitely is one of the best hands that they have. He always seems to be, wrestling in great matches, and maybe he has done everything there is to do in NXT, and maybe that's good that he's wrestling this match here. William Regal, in storyline, basically, took a few weeks and basically pulled a rabbit out of his hat, finding a way to get a big match for Tyler Breeze, and that's being Jushin Thunder Liger, coming all the way from New Japan Pro Wrestling, is going to be wrestling at the NXT special. He's actually going to be flying over on the same flight as the New Japan wrestlers. They're going to be wrestling for Ring of Honor in the same city on the same night. It's a kind of a sticky situation how New Japan Wrestling was able to book this kind of a deal, but I think when WWE calls, everybody knows that WWE is the main game in town, and anything you can do to make these guys happy, you make sure that you do it. New Japan Wrestling isn't brand new to WWE. They've been putting them over for a few months now with the Finn Balor special. They went in depth into Finn Balor going to New Japan, training in the New Japan Wrestling Dojo, joining up and forming the Bullet Club with Carl Anderson, and basically having a lot of the inside look at New Japan, because that was a big part of building up Finn Balor, who became the NXT champion at the Beast in the East show live from Tokyo. Now here we are, we're going to the NXT special. Jushin Thunder Liger is going to be coming over. If you watch a lot of the things on the network, basically WWE likes to call Jushin Thunder Liger one of the best cruiserweight wrestlers of all time. A guy that came to WCW wrestling in the 90s, having some great matches against Brian Pillman. They say that Liger is the guy that invented the shooting star press. They called the 1992 Super Brawl 2 match against Brian Pillman one of the greatest cruiserweight matches of all time. I think there's a lot of buzz about Liger coming and wrestling for WWE for the first time. This is the guy that wrestled in some matches in the earlier 90s, but by the time WCW became real popular during the NWO era, the matches that Liger were wrestling in were few and far between, and the matches that he was wrestling in really didn't matter in the long run. Now, when you watch New Japan Wrestling on the New Japan World, the matches that Liger wrestling for New Japan, honestly, most of the time are the pre-show matches, or a match that just really has no buzz at all. I've seen this guy wrestle in 8-man tags with Tiger Mask and Captain New Japan probably at least 3 or 4 times since signing up for New Japan. But I think that honestly, I saw Liger wrestle WrestleMania weekend for Ring of Honor, and this guy always finds a way to deliver. People say that Liger is really getting up there in age. He's very hard to be mobile backstage because of his age and the bumps that he's taken over the year, but somehow when he hits that curtain and he makes his way down to the ring, the guy acts like he's 20 again. I think that honestly it'd be hard for it'd be hard to understand why Tyler Breeze would lose, but then again, would they really bring in Liger all the way from Japan just to lose a match and put over Tyler Breeze at the same point? So this is a little bit of a hard match to pick, but I'm going to go with the hometown guy. I'm going to go with Tyler Breeze getting the win over Liger, and seeing if that helps shoot him into stardom sooner than later.